Hey everybody, we was just talking about the inconsistencies of relationships and how a lot of the stuff we was talking about on Truth Be Told back in the days was has now like come to pass, and like a lot of the breakdown in relationships was just kind of a mirror into what society on a whole is trying to push on people, which is why you hear so much about um you know what, like a lot of the old school stuff that was brought about from before. Like we grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and like we know who Shahrazad Ali and these type of people were or are. And she put in a lot of work specifically about relationships, specifically about how black so-called women were being steered into this, fake reality where they had no men and all of that, and then trying to stop that, and how many people who became mainstream were able to capitalize on being the antithesis of what she was talking about, and now years later are coming back and being like, nah, you was really right and all of that. And I saw it very early back when we first met, in terms of the climate that was happening in Brooklyn specifically at the time. Like I was just coming out of my relationship of time from before, and in that,
You need that
learning
mad
that,
big.
yeah,
I love
and
you.
learning how to come out of a polygamous relationship, and then not wanting to be in a relationship, and then being put in a position where you meet somebody that is actually really dope, but because of where you are and what you're dealing with as a man, as a son, as a father, these type of things at the time, it was just like a lot. And there was a lot of people around that time that we met that, although didn't have a direct impact on us as a couple, we were able to learn a lot about from
Nuance.
through, right, nuances and observations, and talking to people, because back then we was still talking to one another. Like the phone thing wasn't heavy. Like niggas was just coming out of like flip phones and not Skytels, Nextel, and all. Like this is the era I'm talking about. So none of the internet thing that we understand, like it was still on MySpace then. So
Just came out.
yeah, you know what I mean? And we wasn't even up on it. Like we wasn't up on MySpace, YouTube, none of that until like towards the end of that shit. So around that time, um
I'm on my hair. Ooh, my
our
kitty.
perceptions of where we were at that time, both individually, was very similar, although we didn't even know each other. We just had a similar outlook, and based on the environment, the given circumstances, the people around us, we kind of like did the knowledge to that. And it led to a long-term relationship. But at the time, I myself wasn't necessarily like looking for that, because I felt like I needed to
How long were you
heal.
out of your relationship before we met?
About a year
It
and a
was.
half.
I remember. I was just
About a
playing
year
like
and a half.
how long so other people could find out.
About a year and a half.
Okay, a year and a half. And how long were you in that relationship for? Like, how
About
long were you in a relationship? The
about
longest relationship before you met me?
I was always kind of like a long-term relationship dude. I wasn't really trying to be out there heavy. So
So, how long? Do you remember how long you were with the person you created your kids with?
yeah, I was with her from like 16. I would say hardcore from like 10th grade, will be considered 10th grade, to maybe the sophomore, what would be the sophomore, senior year of college. So there's how many years? It's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
No, it's not that long. But you said sophomore year
Yeah, in high school.
in high school, so that's sophomore,
Right.
junior,
Right.
senior.
Right.
Then you were freshman in
Right.
college,
Right.
junior.
Right.
I mean sophomore,
Right.
junior. So like 6 years,
Yeah. Wow. Seems so much longer.
because you weren't with her the whole high school time, were you?
Nah, I would
So
say
2
like
years of
from
high
like
school
10th grade.
and 4 years of college. You were together all of college?
No, we actually.
Okay, so that's
broke
less
up.
than 6 years.
Yeah.
College is 4 years, so if it was 3 years or 2 years, do you remember how long it was in college? And this is what's good. You
From
don't,
the time she first went to maybe her second year, then it was
Okay.
like a break.
So for 4 years, you were in a
Yeah.
relationship for 4 years.
On and off, yeah. From the 16 and yeah.
On and off, or in the relationship?
In the relationship, hardcore from 16 to about 20. Yeah, to about 20, 21.
A word. And then your daughter's mother, how long were you in a relationship? If you don't mind
Maybe-
sharing it.
Maybe about a year and a half.
Straight.
Maybe straight. Yeah.
Okay. And so the both of them together, how long were you all together for?
About about a year and a half, almost.
2 years?
I would say 2 years in
And
total.
in that
But
time,
whole
basically,
thing, like
you-
together, about almost a half a year, about 9 months.
Okay, and you had your daughter and your son.
My son and my daughter.
Okay. All right. And this is what's interesting. Was your mother and father married? Were they together? Do you remember,
At
like,
the
did you
time,
grow up with the both of them?
up until 5.
Okay, so they
Together.
divorced when you were young,
Mhm.
and then you were raised by your mom.
Yes and no. More my grandmother, great grandmother.
Okay,
That
so you
whole
had your
house.
extended family.
Yeah.
How many men were in the house?
3.
Being raised? 3?
Oh, what? Being raised? Oh,
Yeah.
I was the only dude being raised at the time.
Okay, interesting. And do you remember, like, were you raised with your dad even though he wasn't in the home?
Oh yeah, I knew who he was.
Okay,
Who he is,
you
President.
knew he was. All right, interesting. The reason why I ask all of that is because we've learned so much from listening to Kevin, in the sense that we have really haven't given ourselves credit. That's something that I don't think certain people from like inner cities know how to do. We wait for other people to give us praise with stuff, for somebody to be like, "Oh, word, you're really good at blah, 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 blah," and you were like, "Oh, thank you." We're not like, "This is what I do. This is what I do." And it's something to behold, because in listening, he, of course, I'm making products he put me on, this do. It's a while ago. We've been listening and watching for a while. And what we've learned is that the work that we've done over the last like 15 years is not only have been spot on, but we never knew that people actually wanted to be seen. And actually, we've learned that basically people love a platform in which they can be seen. And the way in which we kind of were raised in just Brooklyn was that you respect people's privacy when it comes to someone asking you for certain wisdom, whatever it may be. You just respect people's privacy and you don't let people know what anyone's going through. What we also learn, and this is something that I wanted to share with women and with, men that have been extremely kind and supportive to me over the years, is that from the very beginning, from when I first met Aseer, there was so much about me just being in a space of humility. I just lost my mom my sophomore year of college. I did 2 years of college by myself, meaning like totally dolo, no family help. My sister was around, but the situation with my mom really affected her mentally to a degree where she was my little sister and not my older sister. But rather than even getting into that, is to say that I didn't have anybody in my corner really kind of like cheerleading me on. So I was just grateful for whoever wanted to be consistent in my life. So all of that's to say I was
What
in a
was the longest relationship you had been up to that point?
8 years, 4 years of high school, 4 years of college. Same dude, Chameen.
Similar.
To the point
Very similar.
that being with Chameen, when I got in a relationship or was just chilling with him, I would tell him, look, we might go places and people are going to ask me, hey, how's Chameen doing? And I just want to prepare you because not only have I not seen this guy and I'm not with him anymore, but I had to make a clean break because learning and listening now, I'm like, thank God. There's certain stuff, we wish certain people were putting us on to stuff back in the days. But, I was kind of that girlfriend and I was a virgin. I was with this guy who wasn't a virgin. So when I went to college, my whole thing was like, yo, do you, this is the time to sleep with your exes, the time to kind of, sow your royal oats. Do you? I didn't really know up until years later that he kind of felt that was maybe too much freedom. But at the time, I was like, look, I don't want, we've been together for 4 years. We got together at the end of freshman year. But, rocking hard, I didn't want him to feel as though, because of my virginness, I didn't want him to think that I was trying to make him be like me or wait for me. So I was like, as long as you don't catch anything and give me the details on too much, have your fun. This is the time to do it. And he did it. He
Why did you think he was gonna listen to them?
Because that's every guy's like dream, and that's what I would want if I was the guy. If I was the guy and I was really committed to a girl and I was like, we're gonna get married and all this, there might have been a time in our relationship where I would want her to allow me as a man to feel like I could go out there and do my thing for a while. That doesn't mean that I would want my girl to do the same thing, which is the double standard. But as a female, I've learned that there are double standards in life that completely suck. But this is what happens when you are raised to take care of yourself and pay your own bills. Pay my own bills. I don't think you will. So the point is I was raised to be a wife, but I was also educated to think for myself, communicate for myself, and not take no shit, right? So in that, meaning like, don't let people walk all over your kindness and take your but be humble, because humility will last long. It's kindness goes far. Like, I came from a really sweet mommy and grandma family, and I think that's what got me so like in my little shell after, college, in the sense that I was really aware of being nurtured. And then when that was taken from me, it just put me in a space of becoming my own nurturer. So I always had a great apartment. I always was working. I do whatever in college, after college, work 2 waitressing jobs, do a little commercial, whatever, to pay my bills, have a little savings. But the reason why I gave him that type of freedom was that if I was a guy that had had sex, I would have wanted my girl not to put some noose around my neck and make me feel like I was married to her before we were married. Didn't think that was going to be bad for the Virgo, but it was. And I say that because we were both Virgos, right? So I was really, like, we had a great friendship. And it sucks because I remember, like, when he met the girl that he met, she was like 15 years older than us. And she was awesome. I'm going to buy him a car and do all. I couldn't compete with it, and he wasn't treating her like, yo, I'm just gonna smash and we doing us, right? No, that was not the language. The language was, I'm in love with this woman. She is my all. And I was like, oh, homie is totally caught up. And this, because he is a committed Virgo based on whatever, I wanted to think it was me. No, he gonna be caught up with Shorty for a while. So I'm not gonna waste the next 4 years of my youth on this dude. I'm a virgin. I'm 22, and I already know him. He's telling me what he thinks I want to hear to keep me thinking that he's got me on this pedestal, when really, if he did, he wouldn't have done all this and lied and put her on the pedestal after knowing her for a couple months. But because he did that, I was like, you know what? That's not how we roll. So I bounced. I left right away. Like, as soon as I heard him smashing on the phone with Shorty, whether he didn't pick up the phone or whether he hurt, whatever. I was that girl that got the phone call and was like, hello, hello. And he was making out and, oh, girl, in your green, yeah.
So like he butt dialed you? It was like a butt dial.
No, I called him.
Oh,
and he picked up the phone, but he didn't pick up the phone. And the phone was just playing in the background with her and him. and
That's
he was
whack,
at
bro.
the studio, and so I'm sitting there like the first month out of college,
That's whack.
and he's like totally making out and talking about her green dress and her red shoe. I remember all the
I don't even know
details.
what you're going
So
to.
all yeah, but the funny thing is about those details, that the like let's say the 3 nights later, because he disappeared, right? So 3 nights later when he comes back, I'm like, yo, so how was the girl in the green dress with the red shoe? So homie's bugged. He's like, I didn't know if he was just playing bugged for me, but because who's that naive to leave their phone running that long? But
But how old are y'all at this time?
we're 21, 21,
See what I'm
22.
saying? Like,
We're young.
you
We're
didn't know
22.
nothing. You didn't know
So
nothing.
he's caught up. He's doing Molly
know
and
nothing.
ecstasy for his first time. I'm just still on my blunts. Never done any other drugs other than herb to this day. And it's not something I'm like proud of, but we even talked about that. Like once you have a kid, you're not like, ooh, let me shroom. You know, you're like, wait, did the baby have his cream of wheat?
Yeah,
And
you can't.
Hicks. So the whole point is that I've never done anything. He was doing stuff that I wasn't experiencing, and he was having fun, and I was like, I'm out. So I bounced 22, a year like 21, because it was before my 22nd birthday. Then I met him, Ray. But as you can hear, he has 2 kids, 2 baby mamas, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I was already in it. Like we first met at the
I'm like, oh my God,
street
why are all the
festival,
good ones like?
and I was still with, the baby had just. It seemed like baby had just been.
But then
born,
he's like,
but it
I
was
wasn't with her. I was. What are you
But
talking about?
you know how it is. You trying,
And I did it. So I
They
asked
say
details,
they
and he was like, I've been
don't
here.
want you to be there, and you're like, okay, well, let me just, at least see my child. Let me just strive to just at least be the child. Okay, let's go to the fair. You know what I mean? Because you got to.
But
As
I'm
a
gonna
father,
keep
you
it
got to
ultra as a
broker win.
female at the time.
As a father, you got to broker in like where and how you can get time while still striving to maintain your distance from this individual, while at the same time not trying to be too distant, because then that if it's if it's perceived this way. So it's all this negotiation. And when I think about it, like he was 21, so I was like 20.
26.
26. Oh God.
4 years.
Yo,
But all of that, what he said, my main thing was, have you slept with these women? Are you in a sexual?
like nah.
All of that,
All
like
that
being
ended.
there. So I was like, how long?
All that ended.
And he kept it real with
And
me.
they said that they didn't want to do it. So I was like, okay, boom. So from that point on, I was about striving to maintain what I could.
How long were you celibate for before?
Up until I got with you.
How long?
It was about. I'm trying to think. Like
I love questions like this.
from the time that because we spoke, maybe about 7 months, 8 months.
It was exactly 9 months.
Yeah.
And it's okay, but I'm asking.
Yeah.
So you weren't with them for like a year?
Yeah. It seemed like longer than that.
But 9 months of incubation.
From the time that Victory was born, that was it.
Okay, so were you together when she was pregnant?
Sexually, no.
Yes. Okay.
No.
So for me as a woman, I'm like, so were you all of these questions meant something to me, because I never wanted to be number one when there was another woman and child involved. That's your family. Are you taking care? And he was like, no, they have me sleeping outside. I'm not I make sure I pay the rent for her to be good. I make sure my kid is good. But because I'm not sleeping with her, I don't get to sleep in the house. And Ray. These are things that meant something to me. And the reason why I say that is because I had a complex enough life after my mom passed, in the settings that I was kicked out of my home. So the night of her funeral, I was kicked out of my house that I grew up in of 18 years.
That?
My grandfather,
Exactly.
who happened to be a little bit avaricious and, a little bit going through his own Saturn return. But regardless of who or what, it broke my sister. It really did. It made me like a warrior, like, fine, then I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, who does that? So I bounced. I went back to school a couple weeks later. I got a job in New York. Just survived. But I had the survival skills enough to know to finish college. And it just was something that I knew my mom wanted me to do. So I wanted to honor that, and I did that. And I looked out for my sister so much that she literally lived with me in my dormitory after she graduated college. Like, this is how much she kind of didn't move on because of, the emotional scarring and how traumatic it was.
It's horrible to do that to
It
children.
was, it
Because y'all
was.
still children at
But
that
I'm
time.
talking about it
So
kind of
wrong.
removed because I have been removed from it, and that's another thing to weave into the story, helping people throughout the years with trauma and with miscarriage and with whatever it is. I want to inspire people to move on and to move forward, and I think that because so many what I learned over the years is so many women would rather gain wisdom and advice from men than share their stories with other women. It really just humbled me and was like, it's something that I was grateful that when we met, based on how smart Aseer was. I was really into astrology and had known this woman named Myra. That's what I was like. So again, when you support someone doing stuff, it can sometimes annoy family members and other people because no matter who I was going to be with, or if I'm like a friend of yours and I feel like, yo, this is something like you play poker really well and I know a great poker, I'm gonna hook you up with whatever I feel can expand. That's a horrible example, but expand your craft, right? So I was like, if this dude learned a little astrology with me, we are gonna be like unstoppable with certain stuff and not take things personal and whatever. And this meant a lot to me after certain traumas that weren't me, but we're like, you know what? I don't want to be so grateful for just any connection because I'm very aware of people not being there for me. And so now when people are, I'm almost so thankful that it can come off a little like, yo, Shorty's doing too much. So I peeped that quickly and toned that volume down. But all of it's to say, when we got together, I wanted to also be aware that I had things that didn't necessarily make my story look trustworthy. And he had things on his plate that I could really say, wow, in all of what's going on, you're there for your kids, you're striving to bring apples and bread, and you're there. And in my situation, having a man be there is something that's to be applauded. So I did. I applauded it, and I didn't think that it was going to be something that really created a riff of annoyance with his baby moms because they both moved on with other people. But I do, and I did tell him then, I think they've done this to just kind of trigger you to do the chase. So you know what, Aseer? Like, sleep with them, have sex, make it easy for you to see your kids. Like, they're doing everything because, and he was adamant, I'm not doing it. I'm not, because then they're going to control, they're going to be in a position of power, and I'm not into it. I don't want to do it. And he can explain why as well, but
also looked at it,
I'm just sharing what he
fact
expressed.
That she could do the knowledge to it like that made me really be like, nah, this is a really understanding person. This is a really like good girl, and I can't not put myself in that position to quell whatever this could potentially be, even though I'm still somewhat trepidatious based on all, again, of the external things that is being navigated at the time. You know what I'm saying? Family court, striving to maintain a relationship, seeing the children, avoiding entrapment when going to see the children, like all types of crazy, just stuff that really didn't have to happen. But when I do the knowledge, that was the scripting for our generation, and what we think was something that was mirrored in, or we just created ourselves, what we don't really, and what original people don't understand about the societies in which they live, is that all of these societies are predatory in nature against us. So the thing that is the most threatening is a relationship between two people of the same ethnic background, because what that does is that it reinforces a traditional idea of a family unit that can become self-sustaining within itself and replicate with itself, where everybody is like that. So in a society like that, the genetic pool is is distinct, meaning that it continuously amps its own self up. And so the power and potential over a generational term. Like, think about it. Think about where our children would be if they didn't have to deal with racism, so-called black on black crime, the trans agenda, the drugs, the molestation, the prison to school pipeline. Imagine if none of those things existed and they was just regular, seen as regular children, the same way you see a little Chinese children or a little, Mexican child or Eurasian child, whatever, the same way, and they have the same situations without all of the hurdles that they got to go through to be able to be seen as overcoming all of these things, just to be then patted on the head by the same people that put the obstacles in there in the first place. And so people don't want to raise children to go through that. So psychologically, if they're being beat down where they see wherever they're two archetypes together that are constantly being dejected, eventually it's human nature to be like, well, maybe if I breed with this person and then have a baby that's like this, that it won't be that. So it's not about
protection
or even celebrating diversity. It's about using diversity to negate a traditional so-called black family. And that is what I started to see from back in the days, because as soon as we got together, that's when people who I thought was mad cool, like real talk, was just on some shit. And it was like, why? And I'm looking into why and where this is coming from. And none of it made sense until I really started to see like where we are now. Like, oh, okay. Go ahead.
Because they didn't tell us the rules clearly. And I think that the generation before us, our parents' generation, didn't really put us on a certain game. I don't know why, whether it been religion, the Christian agenda, whatever affiliations they were a part of, but they didn't put us on a certain game, so we kind of were open to being magnets for certain energy and not really being aware that good can attract certain, bad. Like we know this, but when you're a person and you're like, oh, well, bad things are happening to them because they must. No, there's also a little thing sometimes just as to, teach you how to protect, teach you how to value. And we didn't learn those things immediately unless certain things happened. I'm grateful for my upbringing. I know that he was in certain ways, so we really came together and realized certain things that were broken and that were kind of off, and we're like, okay, we can be on with X, Y, and Z, but it's going to be hard because at the end of the day, there's aspects of things that I would love to want to trust right away, and I had to learn the hard way. Like, if you have two younger brothers with the same dad and come to our house for 8 to 10 years straight, I am going to think something. We might have done something if they just one day stopped talking to us, or one day, and all of that to say, well, it takes two to tango. Yes, the more that Aseer got known for talking about history and just really reading more and sharing his knowledge with them when they came over, because they came over and asked these questions. He was never like a one-sided conversationalist and this. And mind you, at that stage in our lives, I'm younger. I'm like, oh, house and home. There was a part of me in my 20s that just was really replacing what was kind of ripped. So I cooked every night. I still do. One thing about what I was talking about, the thing that isn't fair, is that no matter what happens, how much orders I have, how much work, I still have to make sure that dinner's on the table, my son is eating, there's a certain set bedtime every night. When he was young, bedtime is at 8:30, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Keeping these consistent rules means that I can't really do certain things that might require, going out and being cool and all that, because I really do value certain things in my home. So all of that to say, I realized a lot of young a lot of people that needed a warm meal and needed a hug and needed like smoothies and salads to be made with sprouts and sun-dried tomato. I didn't know that the way in which I was taught to cook and to bring food to my grandfather every night and to clear the table and to do the dishes and to clean, to change the sheets on Saturday. Saturdays are linen days and Sunday. No matter what is going on from day one, if you're around me, your laundry's done, food is on the table, you're being fed. These aren't things I'm doing to cook cold. This is just how I take care of myself. And if you're in my extended space, this is what I'm doing for anyone. So I didn't realize, okay, this female roommate, she's literally diminishing in responsibilities because I'm doing so much. But I'm not like, oh, I want credit. It's just to say, who's taking care of me now that my mom's gone? So I'm just doing all the things that I know need to be done to take care of a home and to attract a husband. Because at 22, I remember saying to him, I know this, that, and the third, but I don't want to be out there. And I also don't want to make you feel like you've got to be monogamous for me or you need to do whatever based on your experiences. But if you're going to be out there and I need to know so that I can protect myself and just, be aware of certain stuff because it's fair to me based on my sexual experiences. But also based on his, I don't want you to feel like I'm seeing how these girls is doing their little skullduggery and using the kids. And it's been 15 years that he's spoken to his kids' mothers. Or, 15 years? Like, homie's been in jail. It's wild out to me. That's crazy to me. But they didn't think, hey, I went a year in New York and spoke to him every day on the telephone 3 times a day because your son is in school now. I got home okay. There's nobody else that's checking up or that I know out there in the world that really cares about my livelihood like that. So let me make sure I value that, especially now that I've done what I knew I needed to do, which was remove myself from a 15-year consistent situation because we had no outlet and we had no escape or no, oh, you go to your aunt for a weekend. After 15 years of just feeling as though people were really pressuring me to travel with him and to be a part of what they wanted to see me as, when I knew I needed to create something to, be in my home more, and I can't bring my kid to lectures and take care of my son. Like, I don't know how these people are doing it, but I'm going to have to take a step back, and however it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But no one is going to have me feeling like I got to be your secretary on the road because if I'm not supporting you. Like, bah humbug. That's not real. And thank God I was with someone who was like, I feel you, but sometimes people just want to I can't spend time with people when I know I need to keep my lights on and keep certain things, So all of learning how to become a grown-up when you are in spaces of realizing your worth, wanting to give so that you can receive, but also just being grateful to have companionship. That's what I valued, companionship and transparency. If you can be those things, then we can go far in life because that's the basis of everything. And I never had an issue living with first months. We're going to be family because our families are kind of broken and going through their whatevers. And we hope that, in sharing the things that we shared when we were younger, we didn't really know the blowback or how it was going to affect the ripple that it was going to affect. I didn't know, like I said, I was going to create such a partnership with him that people were going to think that politics, and if I'm on the camera, that that's what I should talk about as well. Or, I had to really be like, what part of this is me and what part of this am I celebrating because this is what we do. We survive. We fight this, no, I'm a gentle flower and I can't do it anymore. So, taking those steps back, regardless of what the blowback was the wisest thing that I could have done. And saying, I don't want to be in a situation where, I can't always support my family first because the things that are required of us are at such a volume, and in watching people like Kevin Samuels, it allowed me to say he's not talking to people for free. He's not, so why do people expect Aseer to always give his time to them for free? And this is something, he charges. He has to charge people for consultations and for visiting and for all of the work that he does, because that's the work that he does. There's not a lot of people that can show results in terms of this and that and real ish. And I don't need to rattle them off because that's, again, singing great. But he's shown so much results and helped so many people that have gotten themselves into quagmires by downloading and not understanding, and just really being triggered by people that were set up in our community to distract a lot of people from listening to things that could have kept them from so much, so much drainage. But everything happens for a reason, and the truth be told, and the Cooking More with Lesses were great. But I also had to say, hey, this isn't popping off for me the way it has Tabitha Brown. This isn't doing for me what it has for her. And, shout outs to people that start stuff and the gateway's open. They put in time, they put in work and effort. And even in listening to what she went through the other day, Wendy Williams, girl, I would have been had my husband off the force. He wouldn't have been a cop, but I would have been. No, if I'm making money, we making money, and you don't really need to go to work on a 9 to 5 if I got 5 million followers. So shout outs to her. Shout outs to her for taking him out of that situation, because so many of us, we can't. Yes, help your husband because he's been there and has been consistent, and that's what we do for each other. But again, I never knew when we were younger that supporting him in certain ways meant that I had to consistently do that, and not, I didn't want him to have all the pressure on his shoulders, even though he was going to carry it and do certain things. I wanted to, I went to college, I had a degree and all these, and no, that had nothing to do with what I valued, because at 22, I said, forget Hollywood, forget this, and forget the castings. I want a husband and I want a family. And if the child comes, great, but I'm not even expecting that, because if I get the companionship and a husband, then I'm just going to see where that leads. But I don't expect anybody to give me I don't have any grandparents. You understand? And we've learned a lot. Watching this show taught me what I've used to express and have seen in saying that women don't trust other women with sharing, anything. So I got out of thinking that there was a feminine circle a while ago from just going through what I went through in New York and being around women.
There is a feminist. They're just all clicked up. It's like everybody is clicked up. So everybody's clique is their little thing. So the girls that are unfortunately more morbidly obese, they stay in a clique of morbidly obese sisters that think that and reinforce the idea that there's nothing wrong with that. Just like you may have a group of sisters that may be anorexic, you know what I'm saying? And then they reinforce that they're not anorexic, that they're, just slim thick. Then you got the ones that, may be all, shitted on because of this or that. And then they click up in that. And then each clique act like they clique represent all women. And they don't. They just represent the little clique that's trying to reinforce their own delusion amongst themselves. And guys do the same thing. Only thing with guys, there's always a subtle threat of danger. So with guys, or there's always like a subtle, there's always a subtle nuance of potential violence. So with guys, their little cliques be like, we the get money clique, we're the Crip clique, we're the whatever clique, and then we're reinforcing this idea that we are this, but we know that we wasn't raised like that. This is just what we are now, because this is the clique that allows us to not take responsibility, and then they think that they little clique represent all men. You know what I'm saying? So everybody is like. So when you're not in any of these cliques, When you're in
It's weird.
the family clique, when you in like the my people, regardless to what you are referring to yourself as right now, we all in the same situation clique. That can is threatening to everybody's clique because you're not personally invested in what everybody's clique is invested in. So you could see these cliques for what they really are. They're all little clubs of insecurity.
And that's not a bad thing because people want to. What we were talking about, I wasn't trying to cut you off. I'm saying that people have commonality and they want to connect and feel that they are a part of something. That's what you're describing, the cliques. Is that people are
yes, they want to be a part of it but I'm talking about those cliques that the ones that get noticed are the ones that are doing the most BS to everybody else. Like
absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. And then those cliques is the one that try to then act like they represent and speaking for everybody else. So that's when you're now dealing with big tech and pharma with these agendas and these things that they doing with everybody. But essentially, everybody is striving to act like they not in one of these little things, and all of these things are what's keeping everybody from being together.
And I don't think that we're taught to really know and appreciate what we should value and what is important, because we are really, well, the things that I've learned in listening to women in the settings that they've allowed themselves to be seen in is that they really don't even listen. They don't listen to a question. And this is stuff, I used to say I'm giving so much of my heart space and my energy, and people aren't even really listening. They're not even in a space of wanting to change or grow. They're just lonely, or they just want a platform. And that wasn't a judgment. It just meant to me, well, how much of my time am I going to use in really trying to uplift people when some people really are comfortable in these cliques, in these settings where people kind of just placate, And I'm very grateful that I made certain choices as to not just really always want the approval of others and people, because when you're right, when we did meet up, my clique was going to yoga every day, going to class, just to kind of replace ballet that I had as a teenager, and just going to work out every day was such a consistent commitment after losing my mom. I wanted to shut off my freshman 20, and I did very quickly, but I also just really valued going, whether it be swimming, going to the gym every day for an hour, and then going to work. So if I had work at 9 in the morning, I'm at the gym at 7. There's just certain things that I really wanted, and that wasn't to set a pace and try to upset other friends or women. It was to say, wow, I have arthritis and I have knee issues and I don't have the same luxuries as other women of just being able to. So I've always jogged and ran, just done stuff to keep my joints lubricated and to be grateful that I have movement. And I didn't know that in trying to take care of myself and not be needy and was creating such a consistency in my 20s and 30s that I really kind of dissed my peer group by aligning myself with him at 23, regardless of what he was going through, and saying, well, if he could commit and say, look, this is great, and let's rock. We went to, regardless of our financial situation, we go to Malmoon's, get $1.50 falafel, have a little lentil soup together, where every day spending time together, and that to me was of high value. That was what I valued highly, being around someone that would stimulate and listen to me cry and watch movies till the sun came up and smoke whatever, just to chill and to have good times. I don't think that people know that, how to just coexist in the same space, because in listening to women now, there's so much that they feel that they need to see firsthand to just jump in and try. And then they're, what some people might think I got, other people were deterring me from, and the baby mama drama, and I went to prison, and these women attacked, and these women kept their kids. So there was a lot of time. Can you grab the cat, because he just scratched my booty? There was a lot of times that I felt really isolated, and like no woman wanted to like come to his assistance, and his brothers weren't there. And that's really why I was like, well, I'll be there in family court, and I'll think, if no one else, then you step up and help. When someone needs you, you're there for them. And I think that that really just floored me, that like his own brothers that were like, no one stepped up. No one said, it's wrong to keep my nieces from me. It's wrong. I haven't seen them in 6 Christmases. Where are they? Let's get a team. Let's hire people. Like, no one cared. So then it just made me look like, so then I was like, look, I look like I'm caring too much. So now I got to pull back because I don't want to invest and care and thing. And it not going, like, now I got to pull back and really not, and learn that not only if their parents don't care, then I shouldn't. And that was something that was hard for me to learn. Like, that's an American tactic that's difficult when you see certain abuse emotionally and mentally taking place, to just be like, well, they're the mom.
What took
and
this
you have to
thing
do
out
that.
of it for me, once it all was said and done, was understanding that it wasn't something that was just personal to me. This is what was happening, or what has happened to all of us. My father or his wife, who was my mother, had they issues just like everybody's mother and father had these issues. The only difference is our issues are always exacerbated and pigeonholed in some extraneous extreme circumstance with this almost no reconciliation or way that you feel you can reconcile. Whereas other cultures and situations, because they have a traditional family unit structure, the same way we did. We only been in this situation about 80 years. So it's really not that it can't be turned around. It's just that folks have become so apathetic and used to not seeing their mother and father together, or mothers and fathers not being together, specifically in our community, that it is also now transiting into other communities, because it's a infection, because it really is an illusion, because it's actually not what they say it is. There was actually, when I was going through the so-called family court system, all I seen there was men that actually looked like they wanted to be there with their children, but for whatever reason was being put in the thing. And I'm talking about for 5 years straight, bro, seeing people come and go like a conveyor belt, just every year, just different niggas, different younger, and it was getting younger and younger up in here. So I'm looking at this situation like, yo, man, this is not just happening to me. Like, it is happening to me, and I'm seeing how it's happening, and it's messed up. But my situation is like a drop in the bucket from our situation. And then once we started taking control of, let's say, my situation, or me specifically understanding how to be able to use certain court elements to my favor, it created a reverse vacuum, because it's not supposed to work like that. And then seeing the same system that is, in a sense, set up to block people like us from being with the children, then having to like reshape itself now, in which now, in order for me to be with the children, it's almost like somebody has to be bad. So once it came out that I wasn't the bad one, you see what I'm saying? Then it was like, oh, that's the bad one. When really it's the system, the whole situation that's the bad one, because all of this was based on lack of communication that could have happened, but based upon, again, family circumstance.
I would say the will of a woman as well. Like, you're being very kind, and I love you for that. But the will of people, emotional states,
people, and what they want from children, and what children represent. That's what I'm saying.
And that's what I was getting and saying, and listening. You're speaking about all this, but really the emotional weight, how it changes someone, how it shifts a relationship, how you have to learn to overcome being kept from something you love. Watching our men be heartbroken because they're kept from their children. How we as women have to consider, or do I want to be with somebody like this, or do I want to be with a healthy guy who's got it all? Of course, we're going to want to choose the latter, but there's also men out there that have gone through a lot of heartache, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of depression, that are great people going to work every day, who, that to me is something to value highly, because to wake up, to do something consistent, to pay your bills, to give half your check to the state, it's not a situation you want to be in, but not everybody has that opportunity to gateway into different ways of making currency. And that's why I always really just am humble, because the people, I also wanted to start this to really thank people, and I'm going to shift it because I want to thank people that write me and confess that I have too much going on with orders, and really I've tried working with people, but I'm really detail oriented. So if labels are off balance, if the things that I'm paying someone to do aren't there after a couple of hours or days of me expecting and training, then I keep it moving and bring somebody else in and try. And I'm not adverse to help, but when someone's in my home and I have them do a specific task, I expect. So I've learned how to do a lot of things on my own, really just because I really value my time and details. So until certain things are able to grow, I really want to give praise to everyone who shares my products. CordobaOrganics.com. It's been out for 8 years now. Crystal infusion therapy, ancient skin alchemy, what that actually means, and all of it, what I've learned for the last 8 years, and really staying consistent. I've always gotten off my seat because so many other people start or try, and that's something I used to do even with yoga. Like, as soon as I got a good write-up and my classes became popular and people became annoyed that they couldn't teach the 8 o'clock, I gave that up and was like, okay, well, let other people teach it. I don't want, and I've never really sat in, wow, I'm grateful for what I brought to the table, no matter how many people are, doing stuff to really try to, you know, take your intellectual property, for a lack of a better word. So I've just been very grateful for my business and for having the balance to be able to raise my son at home and to fulfill orders. But then there's like, in me not peeping, oh, don't put your phone number on your business card, because people might think that they have the freedom to call you every day and a thing. It's such a delicate space, because when you have like 80 emails a day and you're answering like 30 at night, but you're not getting to the other 50, you feel bad. And I wanted to apologize to people that have waited or haven't gotten a return email. That's why I want to start this as well. I want to be able to do like the little split cam with either Zoom or GoToMeeting, where if people want to call in and ask about skin consultations, or, hey, this is what my skin looks like, what do you think that I might need to use? What do you think might be best? I just want to give quick little skin consultations for people, and also like exercise consultation, whatever people need. What I realize is don't really talk about what I have certifications in and what I'm good at. And, based on the experiences that I've had as well, just being able to help people through grief counseling, through trauma, through, miscarriages, through stillbirth, through losing homes, moving a lot, loving each other through difficult times, finding a balance as your place as a woman when you are raised to pay bills and take care and have a business, but you want a family as well. I was definitely raised to be a wife. I can say that because I used to fight certain things, but my mother was like, it's our job to cut these carrots every day and to take. So I really, I'm grateful for stuff now, but now that we're older, I really realize why things didn't pop for me in certain ways, because I became disillusioned when, I realized, what, as much as I'm giving, I don't want to come off like a Nancy knows it all. And I don't want, because in giving advice, like I'm just the great, and I don't. But when you are giving advice as a woman, it's something different than when it is from a man. That's why men have success in women calling them, because it's a time for women to feel heard. And the times that women do feel heard by other women, it's very vulnerable. And I really applaud women that humble themselves to ask anything of me, because I never assumed to think that someone would. So I didn't put myself out there to be like the voice of skincare or the voice of yoga or the voice of arthritis or the voice of products, because that's just so over. I don't know how to say it. It's just like, just be humble. There's a lot of things that I've gone through, and I'm very grateful that I've haven't stayed stuck in, and I'm very grateful that I've learned. But I'm also learning how to put myself in more social media stuff, and also saying I don't want to do TikTok and I don't want to do this and I don't. So, knowing the games you want to play and what you want to, how you want to play them is very important. Very. And that's about it. But I think we learned so much in terms of, that's something I wanted to always wonder, like, how long does someone think that it's okay to go without speaking to the person they created a life with? And this has been like the 15th, 16th
As long as it
year.
takes. These chicks, these women, they
So I know other people are going through
don't
stuff
work
like
like
that. And a lot of people's marriages have failed because there's one person who has a really toxic baby mama or baby daddy or whatever it is, and it can really deter someone and say, wow, your kids haven't spoken you this, that, no one thinks you know it. And you just are like, is this the right? Yes, support people that are the underdogs, really and truly, and also value things that people don't place value in anymore, like reading at night and being able to get up in the morning and go to a job that you might not love, but being able to put food on the table and give your check, to electricity and to water and to just the things that you need to function as an adult. I always in my 20s wondered, how far would I have gone if I didn't always have rent, or I had a storage unit in a basement, or had help from an adult? How far could I have gone earlier if someone could have stopped me and said, look, you're going to go through a lot supporting this guy that has these two baby moms, but, if you have a little respite, if you have a little, then it won't. No one told us that. So we learned a lot together, and I think that's what's made us stronger, and really just so happy to spend time with each other now, is that after 22 years, we both have made such strides personally in our own journeys, but also have always been able to come together and do things that we really have no idea what the outcome might be, but we just are committed to helping other people and to just sharing what experiences might have taught us, and how not to give into greater group thought that might feel like you're being pulled down. And talked about those cliques and groups, but when you don't feel like you're a part of them, not compromising to be a part of something that you don't feel like you might be appreciated or valued or respected in. And I say that when you don't have arguments with women, when you don't have discrepancies, or life is great. Life is really good, and it's the same. It's like, I don't remember the last time I've had, and that's not to attract the situation. It's just to say, I don't put myself in situations where I feel as though someone is going to feel challenged or threatened, or, I just stay to myself and do things that bring me joy, and try to help people that might be in arthritic pain and have some skin issues, and, water and life and laughter and love and simplicity, and having faith in yourself, and being happy even when you're sleeping on a sleeping bag and an egg crate, because there was times that we went through that, and people thought we owned benches on Central Park, and all the myths around somebody, and then the reality of just being who you are and not wanting to steal or put up GoFundMes or ask for help. And it's just been great, and it's also been humbling. So we are going to start those consultation jump offs, and if you guys want to call in and ask questions about nationality or history, you can do so as well, and we'll show your face. Thanks to Kevin Samuels in teaching us that we've kind of done stuff a little backwards. It's great to show people stuff, and even in showing how men are calling in now, and we see the gaps in how men aren't listening and don't know what to say and don't know how to communicate a simple thought. This is stuff that we're both, women and men, are experiencing on both sides of the fence. And for me, as somebody that's been a healer, an astrology reader, somebody who reads palms and tarot and has done this consistently for like 15 years, it's something you don't do on camera because you don't open certain frequencies to show how certain things line up for that person. It's just like the biggest no-nos, but it's also taught me that people really, especially women, enjoy platforms where they feel like they're being seen. And it's great to feel like you're being seen and you have a couple minutes, but to what expense and what after? So if we can help people, and people that might be like, should I, shouldn't I? Sometimes, men will call me, but we talked about this. I'll only have like a guy call me for a reading once. It won't be repetitive because men know if they have a repetitive relationship with a woman, and it's not, and it's paid for, even if it's repetitive, they it's almost out of bounds. It's not something that's the same. It's not something that's allowed as much as it is with women. Women can call him a numerous amounts of times, but because he's the man that opens that gateway for that frequency to exist, I think women consistently just call to be like, he's still rejecting me. He's still not going to think. And whatever it may be, because work is being done. And that's something that a lot of men don't do because they don't offer consultation and help and listen and give great advice. So shout outs to the men that have been and the men that do, because women don't have male friends. If you have a male friend, you have to be very clear in saying, I want you to let me know when you have a woman and a girlfriend. Let's stay platonic, and tell me when you have a girlfriend so I don't overstep bounds. That in itself can be too much to ask someone. A lot of men don't want to share if they're in a relationship with their female friends. And, shout outs to those men that are that way as well. Everybody can choose to be how they want. But for me, I really can't be attracted to someone who's in a relationship or who's talking to someone. So I always used to really value my male friends that had relationships because there was never an inkling of me feeling something or being weird. And that doesn't happen a lot anymore. Once you're in a relationship with a man, it's almost like all of your male friends go out the window. You can't have male friendships anymore because they either occupy the space in which they feel, you understand? And it kind of sucks because these are the things that aren't the same, but men can have female friends because a lot of female friends will keep certain men in their corner and will call them, will initiate those relationships. It's very difficult for women to initiate relationships with men platonically because once we start valuing, checking up, thinking on a guy, a man may take those consistencies the wrong way. So we want to stay very clear and saying, hey, I love you. I just value, I think about you, but I hope you. It's a very rare thing that takes place. So those that have friendships like that, shout outs to you guys for having something rare and valuing each other. But no, since I've been in a relationship, I have not had a friendship like that with a man, and even with females. If they're not in relationships, and it's not like bah humbug, you should go out more. It's really like, no, I have a lot going on in my life. Things are great. And any downtime I get, it's to take a bath, to go to the steam room, to exercise, to braid my son's hair, to read with him, to make oatmeal cookies that are vegan and good, to do something. So unless someone is raised with you or grows up with you or you go to high school and that's just your homie that you check up on, shout outs to those old school friendships that are very rare. You just let people go because people become who they are, and no one wants to check up on the girl who's always with them, in the married couple. That's what I experienced. So now seeing women just want to talk to each other and like have other women on for advice about how to keep a good marriage and how to support, it's amazing because I'm like, we were really at the finish line, and women don't mess with other women that are like have kids that are in relationships, and those that do, I'm sure they're great friendships and you guys are just unique unicorns. But there's a lot of females that are real cool, real chill, but because we just be chilling at home doing our work and taking care of our families, it takes time to build consistent relationships. So thank you for letting me take up time while Aseer is sitting with me and this not be a talk about politics, but it be about love and how to endure through difficult times and how to come back to stuff and say, you know, I of course I still want to do stuff, but I also am grateful to have found value in things off of the stuff that I once really wanted to do in my life. So now that that's happening, maybe we can do these, you know, every other day because yeah, I have time at night, but it's hard to open up your home when those moments at night are to cut labels or to blend butters. But I'm gonna try a lot more. Do an hour with him.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
just proud of you, Aseer. He has so much other stuff that he's gonna start doing some painting. Some like Bob. What were you gonna? What were you told me not to remind you about your painting with kids and stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Painting by
Just stuff
art.
like that. Just art stuff and all that. I'll be doing some of that in the future
And
with
top
my
three
books and
questions that
stuff.
I get asked: why don't I use shea butter? I've done a couple videos on it. Shea butter is going through some crazy stuff it has for the last couple years. And I just, when you find like 12, 13 different butters that you can work with and botanicals that yield better results, you're just committed to those and you're grateful to just expand. So I don't use it because it's not good. It doesn't saturate our skin as well. It's topical. If you have to thing and do something, you can totally. I didn't want to thing. But that's why I don't use shea butter. Also, the different face washes, all of them are interchangeable. And what I found is that variety is really great for our skin. So the kelp help, the beets and roses, the banana face alchemy, the pineapple turmeric face wash, all of the face washes that I make. I say our because he's sitting here and this it's our business, but I make them, and all of the stuff that I make are all really for sensitive skin because I don't use any harsh perfumes, irritants, elements in it that will really cause exfoliation, like deep exfoliation, unless it's like a sugar scrub or something else like that. And the serums, they just really take a long time to make. I take a really long time for each recipe, and I don't skit or skirt on any of the ingredients. So everything that you see on the website is actually what's in each product.
Hmm.
It's something I really value. I have no kitchen and closet space because I really am about it. And there's over 70 products there now, and I've taken about 8 years to make them all, so it didn't all happen overnight. I definitely need more help in you guys sharing your stories and just expressing how they've worked for our skin and helped heal deep, serious keloids, arthritis, gout,
Eczema.
eczema, psoriasis. And I definitely know I was the first person to probably talk about crystal infusion therapy.
You were the first.
And the
You
reason why
are
I
the
say
first.
this is because I hired a lawyer, and there's been some greatness because my lawyers definitely opened me up to telling me the value of my intellectual property and in reminding me that the things that I've created intellectually and that have done some copyright and some trademark work for, I have every right to protect those interests. And I didn't know, and in not wanting to like upset up and coming business or people that are really popular or talk about other business owners and business people, I've just stayed really quiet about it because it's something that I didn't know was gonna set off like wildfire. And a lot of people are talking about crystal infusion therapy and using terms and talking about things that aren't real and that are lies. And it's unfortunate because you can't pulverize crystals. You can't put pulverized crystals or grind crystals into a liquid to put on
It'll
your
be like
skin.
glass.
You cannot um, do like soak crystals in oil and water and think that that's infusion. You can say that it is, but if it's not something, then say water soaking or whatever. You can't use other people's terminology to describe something that you don't know what it is. And if you do, you open yourself up for some serious cease and desist stuff. So I'm just saying that to say to people, value your own thoughts and your own creative works and Don't like go, oh, that sounds kitschy and cool. Let me put a definition under it, because I specifically didn't put the process because the patent takes a really long time and I didn't have the money back in the day. So I didn't put exactly how crystal infusion therapy works, and why I called it that was because it's something that I wanted to coin, and I'll share it with people if I can get a percentage and get paid. But I'm starting to value and learn that the things that I brought to the table, regardless of how many people might use it, they are to be valued. So that's just to share with anybody. Also, with the products and the website, everything goes out in 1 to 3 business days. I've never really taken longer, even if volume comes. I'll maybe, let someone knows if it's huge that'll take a little longer. But international orders, all of that, I'm really consistent in waking up every morning and getting them all out and done, and just being grateful for people sharing their testimonies. I have so many people in my phone that I want to start shouting out and saying thank you for supporting, and thank you for telling us, thank you for sharing this with me. And that's really what I want to also do, is thank you to anybody who has been like, yo, her stuff is, you do know and feel the difference. And this is why I take my time and do it myself, because I didn't find anybody that wanted to go through the steps like myself and take the time to really make things by hand and not put fragrance in it because it smells like cantaloupe or strawberry or cherry. Like, no, nothing on the website has perfume. It just smells incredible based on essential oils and botanicals. And a process that takes a really long time that I coined as crystal infusion therapy, as well as ancient skin alchemy, because there's a lot of ancient techniques and principles that kind of, a lot of people that make liquor would agree with me and say have been used for years, or distilleries have been used for years. But I use a lot of different techniques that I haven't seen anybody else use, and I'm grateful because we're seeing and feeling the results. So shout outs to CordobaOrganics.com. There's a couple new products on there right now, and a couple products that are on sale because I've learned how to put them on sale. And there's the new policy about my new bottles that are kind of unbreakable now, that I'm very excited and proud of. And everything is still getting bubble wrap. People aren't having any issues with anything. I'm very grateful, very, very humble. And I'm just looking forward to expanding and hopefully attracting more people that want to talk about the products. I'll send little free stuff and gifts and all those things. I don't know who does it if someone doesn't give you love like that, but don't wait for it. Don't wait for magazine write-ups. Don't wait for anybody to be, you know, just do the work. And when you do the work to the point of with so much verve, where you really are hoping to heal and help people, and it starts to work and people write you after years and years, it's not only a great feeling, but you just say, ignore all the other people out there, stay consistent in doing what has brought me and others so much joy, and just thank you, God, for allowing me to do this and be alive to offer what recipes you've imbued in my mind and in my heart to share with people. It really means so much to me that I could truly tear up, because I wanted to do cooking, I wanted to do this, that, and I was like, but no one knows me, so why would I write a book about, surviving this or that? And over the years, it's just been great being married and learning that this was the best choice I made at 22, before Kevin Samuels even came out. I discovered that on my own, and I just want to thank him for also having the courage to put a microphone and a scope on a lot of women and how self-absorbed and selfish they are. It's allowed me to realize I didn't waste time trying to be friends with girls that were just gonna figure out ways to try to hurt me. And I get emotional in saying that because my life has been so good, and we need to share how good life is when you don't have a multitude of what other people have encouraged us to feel like we need in order to be happy. And it makes me so happy to make products and help kids that itch, and help mosquito bites and grow our hair, and it just brings me so much joy because I do remember what it was like living in a one bedroom with our son for over 8, 9 years. And I remember what it was like to live in a basement with rats that I could hear clearly in my kitchen eating, no matter how much I mopped. And I say all that to say that I never sold my body. I never thing. I slept with two men, and one of them is this man. And it pays off. Working, exercising, taking care of yourself, drinking water, it pays off at 44. The payoff is knowing that you're living an honest and clean life, that you haven't stolen from anyone, that your kid is in the house that you made the person that you had it with, and that regardless of the lessons that we learn in life and how many of our parents are on the other side, that they're watching us and that they're proud of us, and that we can survive things that happen to us, teach us how to be strong and to value beauty without makeup and without blush, because we can blush from crying and being happy and enjoying life. Like, you have no idea how I literally am like the age of where my mom was taken from me, or my mom passed away, and I always prayed to live a long life and to not have the things that I saw happen to her, you know, create so much fear in my heart to not want to live. And I just am so grateful to be alive every morning and to see him and to see us and to listen to y'all and to be encouraged to come and to share more and to answer questions. You have to ask them and I'll answer each one. But even the people that write, the reason why I don't write back is because I'm constantly working, and it takes so much energy and time, and I don't want to hire someone to write on my behalf or to email on my behalf. I think it's so impersonal. So if I've upset people by not writing them back via email, I'm going to try to do more like this and just answer questions. If you're itching or have any problems, Rose Clay Alchemy, Kelp Help every morning, switch it up, get all three, use all three of them because they're priced accordingly that you can. I say variety is a key. I use a different body butter, a different zodiac butter, a different every other day, and it's popping. It's just been, and I don't use anything else on my skin. The only thing I buy is toothpaste still, and that's it. But other than toothpaste, everything from head to toe is Cordoba Organics, and it's been like that for years, and I haven't seen better results on my hair, his hair, my son's hair or skin. And I'm just very, very grateful that you guys support, regardless if I email back, regardless if I'm on Instagram every day. It's impossible if you're trying to make lasagna and food and write emails and make sure products go out in 1 to 3 days. And I'm a stickler for it. Once someone gives me an opportunity and funds, it's like, that's your job. You get them their stuff no matter rain, sun, or shine. And I just stick by that. So it's hard for me to do all of this and to email each person when it should be a consultation. So I'm going to open something. You'll have a product on the website called consultations. If you guys want to talk, we're here. All of that. But I have to be more organized in setting up the portals to do it in, because I can't just give my time through emails, and he can't as much anymore without having consultations, because we deserve to be, also our time to be respected, and for your time to be respected. And that's what I learned from Kevin Samuel. It's like, he's just not calling people that are like, call me, Kevin, call me. I feel like I know you. So why do I feel like I need to do this with people that do this with me? Don't. Thank you very much. You understand? Like, learn how to create boundaries, Celina, and not make yourself feel like you need to be there. And so it's been good. That's it. www.cordobaorganics.com. There's not much more to say about the products, and that's also hard to figure out how to split talking about love life, relationships, how to get out of family, baby mama drama stuff, and then also product time. So we're going to do what we're thinking of is like 10-minute topics, or however you guys want to ask questions with the Zoom. I'm going to try a practice Zoom because I have GoToMeeting down here, but it didn't work and it was annoying. And I was like, this is exactly why people make millions of dollars having their followings because it is a job. And some of us get good at it and deserve that credit. So thank you guys for giving me my credit for being off the camera as well, and for encouraging me to do stuff off the camera. What did you want to say?
Peace.
Word. Oh, what are your channels, real quick, Papi?
www.aseerthejugateers.com. You can check www.gumroad.com and type in Aseer the Jugateers in the chat. You can check out Aseer the Jugateers on YouTube. And if you want to hit me up on Facebook, it's Aseer Ali Cordoba or Aseer Ali. I just realized I got another page on it. So yeah, you could do that.
I didn't even know that. There. And also, just shout out to all the females creators, the inspirers, the everythingers, and also creative people like the Chloe Baileys and all that. Keep doing your thing, girl. Roll over and do all your action. She's like a superhero when she performs, and I appreciate anybody that's just in shape and that can sing and has talent. I don't know why people are always ripping her head off. If they can support Lizzo, we should be able to support Chloe Bailey, and if we can support, we should be able to support other young artists. I sometimes think, are they just going at her because she's like younger and trying to,
she's in shape.
Is in shape, and I'm very proud that she is. She's young enough to be, and yeah, like somebody asked me the other day, what do you eat to stay in shape? I said I exercise. Like, I wish I could just be one of those genetically great people that are just like, oh, I eat chips and no, I exercise like 4 or 5 days a week, and I have for like 30 years. I'm 45, 44 for like, since I've been like 15, 16, I've exercised because it can go in a heartbeat, and it does if you enjoy food as much as I do. But that's the same thing with Tabitha Brown. Congratulations on all your success for being like vegan and just sharing your love of it. You don't, and that goes to show you don't have to be something for a long time to be great at it. And she definitely is an example of that. I also just really am inspired by Simone Biles and by the track star Sha'Carri. I'm just, her story just reminded me of myself and just being a young woman and losing your mom and going through stuff and just finding your footing and pushing through and persevering and smoking herb. But little shit, if Michael Phelps could smoke herb, Sha'Carri should be able to smoke herb and do her thing. I think they're more just shocked that Shorty is that motivated after she smoke a blunt. Like, yeah, I could do this, that, and the third after I smoke 2 blunts. I'd be like, that's the type of shorty I want to run on the beach with when I'm out here by myself. Women like that inspire me so much. Thank you for being a light and for just being so dope and such an inspiration, as well as Simone. I really have always been so in love with your work and how disciplined you guys are. And also just those are the two that have just always just bring tears to my eyes as young women. And thank you guys for just supporting me throughout the years, little old Celina, and for encouraging me to do more. I'm going to definitely do some more and encourage myself to step out of my comfort, production, house, mama, wife, and try to open up, even if I throw this shit on when I'm doing my leg list, just to invite y'all in and doing stuff like that more now that I'm not as worried about how to take care of my family and myself and my son, because he deserves that regardless of the loss I experienced. I didn't want him to experience certain stuff. So I'm just very grateful for 8 years. It doesn't mean to say that it's overnight, but the last 3 have been really humbling for myself. So thank you guys for supporting me and for trying the products and sharing them regardless of them not being in magazines yet. We're going to get there one day. Someone's going to say, I see her. I want to do an article. I want to do it. And I will be like, oh my God, I'll send you products for life. Thank you so much for helping me. So anybody that's out there, thank you. Love you guys. Take care. Have a good night. Peace.